because it has allowed me to see the full circle from grief to joy, from pain to joy, to all the routes.
Joy.
Yeah, all the different portals that you can go into joy. And they're all the things that I was like, I didn't think that was going to bring me joy, but here we are.
Right.
But that's the buried treasure underneath, right? Because I'm just reclaiming all the different parts of myself that I feel like I lost along the way.
Welcome to Carrie On, the show where we explore reinvention, self-discovery, and empowerment before, during, and after midlife. I'm your host, Carrie Murray. It's time to keep our head above the chaos and carry on.
What if the emotion you've spent your whole life avoiding is actually the one that leads you back to joy? Today on Carrie On, we're diving into the feelings so many women were taught to fear. The anger, the resentment, the silence, the volcano inside that erupts when you've been the strong one for far too long. My guest, June Suepunpuck, is a joy guide and host of How to Find Joy. After years behind the scenes in Hollywood as a costume designer, she now helps women stop performing and start feeling. And today, she's sharing why anger isn't a crisis, it's a compass. We talk about codependency, people-pleasing, motherhood, and the surprising way anger can lead you back to your truth. If you've been swallowing your feelings, this conversation is your permission to stop. Let's explore the unexpected link between anger and joy. Welcome, June.
Hello.
I'm very excited to have you.
So excited.
We just came off of a wonderful 3-day retreat where anger was a common theme.
It was a common theme. And not just because somebody didn't get our coffee right.
Right. No, it was like anger, almost like not even with like society or each other, but like kind of like with like, what? Why am I holding on to this anger? And you had a great moment where you're like, we need to feel anger.
Absolutely.
It is important that we deal with anger. And why do you think that is? Why do we need to have anger and give ourselves permission to be angry?
I feel like personally, I have repressed a lot of my anger, and we've talked about this, but I think a huge part of it is the upbringing, of course, that you have. So you deal with that in the way that you were taught. And for me, it was like suffer in silence, and then somebody inevitably explodes, and then we don't do anything about it the next day. It's like, oh, we just pretend like it didn't happen. And so anger was very threatening. But I think now as a grown-ass woman, I'm like, actually, we need this anger. And you know what? I feel like for me, it has been a complete like 180 on my opinion about anger. At first, I was really kind of like, we don't need it. It's okay. It's better to be calm and soothe your nervous system. And now I'm like, no, it is activating. And it is so powerful, so you can choose you and choose your joy. So that's my opinion now.
I love that. I love that. And as a joy guide and a grief guide, people are naturally going to think, oh, she's bubbly and exciting and warm and wonderful. And it's just joy, joy,
If
joy.
only you knew.
But how did anger come into play with to inform the work that you do with your clients around joy?
Right. So that was a surprise for me too. I feel like you guys are meeting me at a place where I am currently in it. So it was a bit scary for me. You know, we talked about how Carrie, usually when I go on a podcast, I'm talking about something that I've already dealt with. And right now I can say I'm in the middle of it. And for me, my intention is to share the messy middle. And in the beginning of my work, it was very much like joy and the portals to joy and the blocks to joy. And my first discovery was, oh, it's grief. Grief is the portal to joy. If we just address it, we feel it. And I was working around like women in reinvention, you know, quitting their jobs or divorces or any part
Transitioning from costume designing to coaching.
Exactly. So it was just a completely different experience around grief, or like literally losing a loved one or being diagnosed. Like season 1 of my podcast, How to Find Joy, was all around talking to people about their grief and how do you explore that and how that actually gave them an invite into the realness, the honesty, the truth of their experience, and also inevitably their joy.
Yeah.
And now I am recognizing, oh, this is like the top layer of the cake, right? And when we cut in deeper, there's a buried treasure inside, and it looks not so great sometimes. The buried treasure is the things that we want to avoid and hide. And for me personally, it has been anger. And so in this season, I feel like I'm exploring more of like how anger is the portal, and it's through postpartum rage. And, you know, I had my son at 40. I'm 41 now, and he's almost a year old. And I feel like I heard a lot of women talking about being really angry during postpartum. And in the beginning, I was like, that's not me. It's fine.
Right.
Fine, I'm calm, whatever. Oh boy, was that the total opposite. The volcano erupted. And I felt like that has been my new exploration. And I'm recognizing in retrospect, wow, anger has been a gift that's been giving to me for a very long time.
Wow. And during talking about motherhood, did it surprise you when the anger came out during your postpartum? What's the situation where you're just like, why am I so angry?
Oh, I mean, I think part of it was like mama bear energy. And I felt like my husband was very much not doing it the way I think he should be doing it. And so I had strong opinions about it.
We all have been guilty of that. Yeah.
I think my strong opinions even, you know, shocked him, because we're usually very collaborative. And all of a sudden I'm like, get out of my way.
Why is he still crying?
Stop it. And so but I think the truth was there were certain things within me that I was starting to see, wait, that's not fair. Like, why am I still doing this? Or why am I feeling so overwhelmed and hypervigilant and sleepless? And also the only one seemingly feeling that. Even though he was also losing sleep, but I had recognized an old pattern of mine, a compulsive behavior to kind of always be the one to be in control, in charge, managing people's emotions and feelings. And I was like, oh no, my rage is totally tied to my codependency. And that has been alarming.
Yeah.
Because in my like beautiful brain, I was like, oh, I can check that off my healing list. I totally have done this. I went to all these healers, therapists, and in that space, I discovered CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. And I was like, wait, that sounds like me. And in that discovery, I feel like I felt really seen, and I felt really heard, and I understood some of my behaviors more. And I also felt like, oh, I'm good. I know these. I can keep an eye on them. And then kind of forgot about it for a while and didn't take it too seriously. But then once I became a mom, and then I'm sitting there doing all the behaviors that I feel like are my biggest red flags, I was like, oh no, June, you have to go back to meetings. This is unmanageable now. And that's usually the word that you use when you recognize that you need help in those spaces.
What were you what was that? How was that volcano, that internal bubbling when you realized, oh,
yeah.
Was there a significant event, or was it a culmination of things?
I think it was a culmination. You know, I think for a strong women, we usually are internalizers.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't want to admit that there are problems or that we need help. And so I felt, for whatever reason, and this wasn't on my husband at all, he really wanted to support me, but I felt as though it was my responsibility to do all the things. And it must have been an internal rule. I watched my mom, being an only child, sacrifice her whole life to be a mom. And so I think even though I waited until I was 40 and did all the therapy so that I didn't do it, there was a part of my muscle memory that was like, no, this is what you do when you become a mom. You sacrifice your entire being. And I think that's what it was recognizing the hypervigilance was there. The anxiety is ramping up. I am not sleeping. All of a sudden, I'm managing not just my little baby's feelings and needs, because you have to, you're a mom, but also my husband's and my family members and everyone around me and my clients, of course, but like in a toxic way. And I suddenly forgot about boundaries and myself. Like I genuinely started abandoning myself. Wow. And my anger immediately was like, oh, no, you didn't. Right. And came to the rescue in a lot of ways.
Good to help. Now, take me back to, like, you mentioned your mom and growing up and as an only child, how was anger processed in your household? Were they angry in front of you? Were you allowed to have temper tantrums? How was all of that managed?
It sounds so nice to have a temper tantrum. No, I think we operated out of shame, right? I'm not going to blame a whole culture, but I am first gen Thai. And I think there is a stereotype around Asian cultures where it's like, you put shame on your family. And I feel like a lot of families operate out of shame because there is a societal expectation about what it is that you put out there. You don't put out the family laundry. I mean, did you?
No.
Right.
No, not at all.
Right?
No, people would get angry and we would also never talk about it again.
Right, exactly. So I feel like lineage-wise, we're all kind of taught to repress our feelings and emotions. And in turn, we do develop these handy, amazing excellence markers called, I've got my stuff together and I am very good at managing things and crises and being the strong one. But inside, you're dying, right?
Right.
And so I feel like watching my mom pretty much do all of that all the time. She was very codependent. And then my dad kind of like was the one that held the space. So what that meant to me was we revolved around him. He was the sun, and we were the little planets that kind of kept the sun happy, right?
Universe.
Right. And it's because he also has anger, right? For whatever injustices he may have felt, or maybe that's a pattern from my grandparents, but I didn't really grow up with them, so I can't say, but I would imagine he learned it from somewhere. And so I think for me, I was split in two as a kid. I watched my mom and I said, okay, this is what unconditional love looks like. Martyrdom, self-sacrifice, being the strong one, crying alone, not expressing your real feelings, and just caretaking until you drop, right?
Right.
And then with my dad, I also adopted this unhealthy, like, you just stay silent and suffer, and you're everything to everyone, and bubbly, and then one day you just snap and the volcano erupts. And so for me, looking back on my childhood, I felt like I did whatever I needed to do to cope. And in that, I adopted those similar behaviors, right? And also a core underlying feeling of shame. Of my existence, of feelings, like feelings were not okay. And so as a grown woman and now as a joy guide, I feel like a very passionate call to action to be like, everyone, feel your feelings. There's joy right around the corner. We just have buried it underneath all the things that I feel like we're just too ashamed to admit. But if we could just release the valve, get honest, stop lying to ourselves.
It's a huge one.
I know. Then, and get past the grief of, oh no, I am not actually who I am. We can really reclaim the truth of our joy.
Yeah.
For women who want more than just a getaway, Two Peacocks Travel offers transformative journeys that blend adventure, connection, and empowerment. Imagine wandering the colorful streets of Morocco with new friends, sharing stories over a meal in Peru, or conquering a new challenge with the encouragement of a supportive travel group. These experiences aren't just about places. They're about people, growth, and creating traditions that extend beyond the trip. It's time to travel with purpose and find your travel bestie and make an unforgettable memories. Join the movement at twopeacockstravel.com. Ready for TED is an 8-week program led by my friend, Tony Purry. She's a PR pro, executive media trainer, and yep, a TEDx speaker herself, who, by the way, was a guest right here on Carrie On, episode number 2. This guided experience is built just for women ready to clarify their message and craft a signature talk and share their big idea. Whether you're an expert, founder, or change maker, you'll expand your influence, raise awareness, and gain unshakable credibility when you hit the red circle. I've seen firsthand how Tony supports women through this process. It's remarkable. Spots are super limited. Apply now at readyforted.com and let Tony be your guide on the global stage.
So then as you embraced motherhood, at what point were you like, oh, I need a little bit more help, and decided to reach out to Codependence Anonymous?
I think there was a breaking point where I just got so enraged by whatever was happening in front of me with my husband and managing our child together, right?
So fun.
So fun. And I think I felt so dismissed and unseen. And I felt this boiling rage just take over my entire body, like never again. And I yelled at him. I did something in our relationship.
Did it surprise you?
Oh yeah. I was like, who you? Like what happened
coming from?
What happened to the June that he knows? And he even said it. He's like, you've never done this. Like, why are you doing this? Because it felt like almost like a teenage tantrum.
Yeah.
In a way, and a boiling point. And so that's when I had to look within and be like, oh, wow, like I don't do this in our marriage. Why is it this bad? And that's when I went to CODA.
Gotcha. So we're going to switch now. So you've worked with a lot of overachieving women. You left costume designing, became a joy guide.
Yeah.
I've worked with you many times in seeking joy, and anger is a part of that, getting on the other side of that. But with the women that you work with, especially perfectionists and all these high achieving women that have these huge careers and they get so much praise but they still feel like they're self-abandoning themselves. And what do you think about our relationships with anger with high achieving women? Like, why are there such a correlation there?
I mean, I think a huge part of it is because we have to repress, right? To get the job done.
Right.
And when you repress your feelings, when you shut down the part of you that has those deep emotions of fear and, I don't know, just feeling like you can't control everything. But on the outside, no one would see that, right? You've got that poker face
and that polished suit, and you're just looking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we often do that to survive, right? It's a coping mechanism to also be excellent at our jobs and to be very professional.
Right.
But at the sacrifice of what, right? And I think oftentimes a lot of the people that I work with just see that, oh, I have reached the pinnacle of success. I have check-boxed every goal I have ever created. And ultimately, every time I end up feeling really empty and unhappy.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And I took a quiz this morning. I'm going to send it to you. And probably your audience.
We'll put it in the chat.
I know. We'll put it in the chat. But I took a quiz off of this woman, Lisa Chen, therapy. I don't know this person, so I can't vouch for them. But I really liked these specific signs of high functioning codependency or high achieving.
Share with the class.
Yes. So class. The first one is you're the emotional shock absorber. Also, you let me know if this resonates with you.
Yeah.
As I say it. Emotional shock absorber.
Absolutely.
Same. Yeah. It's like,
I've been absorbing so much and just been like, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, let me hold space for you. Of course, you're falling apart. I'm good, right? I'm good. You're falling apart. So emotional shock absorber. You measure your worth by being needed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, that was part of the reason why I was so good at being behind the scenes and having my bosses and everybody kind of lean on me, is because I was like, oh, I'm a good person. They need me. Mm-hmm. And that was validating for my ego for sure. But also my mom modeled it as love.
Yeah.
So I got it very confused. Codependency, folks. Spoiler alert. So you struggle to say no even when you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Where does that still show up?
So, if my calendar is empty, if I look on a Tuesday, I'm like, oh, I don't have anything really planned other than to get some work done. Mm-hmm. If somebody's like, would you mind coming out and helping me with this for 4 hours on Tuesday, or booking a call with me so I can pick your brain? I'm like, well, I don't have anything else planned, so I'll do it. And I should just say, no, not today. No, ma'am.
Not today.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I also do it. But when it comes to being a mom, you can't really say no to a newborn, right? So
they need a lot.
They do. And so for me, it's like, oh, I can't say no in these areas. And I've worked really hard on boundaries. Like that was the only way that I could be a joy guide, was because I knew that I had to be accountable for where I was becoming codependent. I have to do exactly what I'm teaching, right? Or caring, because otherwise you're just a fraud, right? And that is out of integrity, and I don't do that. And so for me, it was very clear that, oh, I can't say no in this area of my life. And I'm also not saying no to my husband, even when he says, tell me if you need help. And that is...
And you're saying no.
Yeah. No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fine. It's like, nope. No, you're not fine.
Yeah.
Really. You excel on the outside, but feel empty on the inside.
Yes.
Yes.
Check. Yes.
And then you prioritize others at your own expense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very hard to prioritize your own needs as a mom. It really, really is. Like literally, if I have a banana and my child's hungry and I'm starving, I will give them the banana. Right. I would rather starve than look at them and be like, what? And then most frustrating thing is they take a bite and they throw it away.
Right.
Mom, I could have eaten that banana.
Totally. But then also, aren't you hangry later?
Yeah. Very much so.
Angry, right?
Yeah.
Hungry, angry. And so that anger, though, doesn't just apply for hunger. It applies for everything. And so I was recognizing like, oh, I'm getting angry about this, angry about that, angry about this, to the point of like, I can't take this anymore. And that's why I feel like anger is a portal to joy, because for me, it really got me clear. Rage is different.
Okay, what's the difference between rage and anger?
In my opinion, I think rage is when you're not clear.
Yeah.
I think when you are so clouded by the feelings that your nervous system takes over and you're like, I'm a rage blackout right now and I don't know how I got here, who I am, what my name is. I just need to do whatever it is. And that's harmful.
Yeah.
Right? And I think for me, I avoided anger because I thought it was harmful. But now I'm harnessing it in a way that I'm like, oh, there are ways to harness the anger that can actually get you very clear. What are the injustices that are happening in your life right now? How are you protecting yourself by having this anger, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of actually addressing that is, in my opinion, the joy.
Yeah. And anger is at crisis. Right. I think a lot of people think, oh, if I'm angry, then there's something else wrong. You know, anger is a true emotion and it's something that we need it for survival. Right?
Yeah.
We get angry, we act. How would you say anger can be a compass to finding that joy? How do people get through it? To be like, I promise on the other side, it's a little bit of joy.
Yeah.
Got to get all these like, oh.
I know. I think for me, I kind of think of being a joy guide like a pirate. Not like one of those like murderous ones. You know, I think of myself as a pirate who is looking for buried treasure.
Like the cute Penelope Cruz and that, one of those Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, totally.
It's a cute pirate.
Yeah, like one of those, maybe mixed with a Keira Knightley kind of vibes. But I feel like the uncovering part is important, right? Awareness, of course, of why you're angry, but then uncovering the truth behind the buried treasure of the anger. And for me, it was like, oh, anger is a surface emotion. And once you can get your nervous system to a calm place, which I am not a gym person, never been. I think I really prided myself in being like, I'm the one eating the Big Mac right outside the gym, waving hello to people on the treadmill. And because I'm like, you're an inspiration, keep going. But I feel like now I'm very much recognizing that my hormones maybe need something different. And so I discovered, and my husband was like, who are you? We have a punching bag downstairs. I needed to punch something. I really needed to channel that anger somewhere else safely.
Yeah.
For me to actually go to a punching bag, that was like a really big deal for me. But it was also the compass back to alleviating that tension that I was repressing for, God, it was 41 years, right?
Yeah.
Of 41 years of my life. And really, truly like crying because I was alone. So allowing myself permission to feel all the feels. Because, you know, I think joy is confused sometimes with like, oh, it's this surface level thing. Go buy something. It's all very external.
Live, laugh, joy.
Live, laugh, love. You know, like it's a really cute meme on Instagram. But for me, and the importance of joy is so much depth, intimacy, getting to know yourself, feeling, being honest, and truly being vulnerable and not lying to yourself. And so for me, owning the anger in that way, in a physical way. A lot of people do that, but I think some people, maybe owning their anger means being vulnerable and practicing in therapy, right? It doesn't have to look like punching a bag. For me, I was the one that's like, sign me up for therapy. Like, right. Give me a healer. And then the physical aspect was foreign. For somebody else, it might be the polar opposite, right? So find your version of your anger to drive you into the direction that maybe you're the most uncomfortable with. Because once you address it, get your nervous system, channel that anger, get your nervous system to a place where you can be calm again, and then really sit with yourself and think, why did I need protection? Why is this anger coming forward? What message is the deeper message that it's trying to tell me?
What was scarier, experiencing the anger, or releasing it with the punching? What was scarier when you were feeling?
I think experiencing it. I think anyone who has ever been triggered can definitely say when you're in it, that is the scariest part, because it's automatic. It's overwhelming. Like you can't seem like control yourself, right? And for me, who again, if you're a high achieving person who's always the strong one and you'll lose your shit, that's when things start to get like, whoa, what's wrong with you? And then you start judging yourself. The shame comes back. And I think I'm angry at the silencing that I did for so long. That I feel like has really been a hard point in my life and really made me question myself about like, oh, I was the one. I had somebody to blame, right? I had plenty of relationships, but I had plenty of relationships to blame.
Right.
My parents, this person, blah, blah, blah. Like, but the accountability to joy also starts with you, right?
Yeah.
So you're the one also self-abandoning. So getting clear around that, and that pissed me off. I was like, oh no, June, you did this. I went from, I feel like with addressing my anger fully and going to, I think I'm in the most therapies now, couples counseling, single therapy, Codependence Anonymous. Like I'm just getting all the support that I possibly can.
It's a fruit bowl of support.
It really is. I'm like, and I feel now that, oh, I better understand that anger. I better understand the shame underneath and also the hurt underneath, because you don't want to just stop at anger. You want to keep going until you get clear on what is the deeper truth.
Yeah. So you've talked about breaking generational patterns. You've talked about, not applying that to your own child, recognizing in the moment, oh, I'm angry. Like you seem the most well-in-tuned person, like who's really in touch with yourself.
Thank you.
It's really kind of inspiring to hear. But through all of that and everything, you still found a way to find joy. You still found a way to like, I want that. I'm seeking that. Where does this tenacity come from? Where does this like, I am not giving up on myself, my husband, my child. I mean, our parents are our parents.
Yeah.
So moving forward, where does that, like right in your gut, what's pushing you?
That's such a good question. It makes me emotional.
Yeah.
It's hard. Friends, you know me. I don't want to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us really want to learn the hard way. And we all want joy. We all want to enjoy our lives, but it is hard. Life is hard. We're all suffering in our own ways. And I think, at least I'm assuming, because we all want to also find meaning in what we do and why we experience the injustices that we experience. But I don't want to experience a suffering or a lesson and not share it because I feel like it is valuable.
Yeah.
And as hard as it is, because I'm just like, oh no, my ego, I'm going to shrivel up and die because I don't want to admit that I'm struggling. I wasn't taught to do any of those things. I was taught to perform, not be perfect and do all the things. So in that direction. But when you asked me about the tenacity, I feel like that was forged in fire. I feel like my life circumstance or whatever positions I put myself in, it was all for good. And I want to hold on to the good parts, right?
Yeah.
I want the hope. I feel like as a collective, we just need more hope.
Especially now, more
right?
than ever. Yeah.
And find meaning in the thing that you went through. Like, don't give up on yourself and collapse. Because I think for a long time, my anger collapsed me into feeling like the victim. And that is true, right? There is a part that is very true in that story. But then now my anger can be an activation, an awakening. And that therein lies the difference. Do you want to choose this path where you can drown? And I think there is a purpose for that. I think there is a level of acceptance of like, I am the victim. This happened to me. And then there is also the part that calls you forward.
Yeah.
To that bravery, to that tenacity. And I'm grateful that I've always answered that call with a curious toddler like, okay.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm very grateful for that trait because it has allowed me to see the full circle from grief to joy, from pain to joy, to all the routes.
Joy.
Yeah, all the different portals that you can go into joy. And they're all the things that I was like, I didn't think that was going to bring me joy, but here we are.
Right.
But that's the buried treasure underneath, right? Because I'm just reclaiming all the different parts of myself that I feel like I lost along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's a woman watching this, and they're literally writing in the comments, fireball emoji, like, I'm mad too. I'm angry too. What advice would you give to someone watching this that is trying to get through their anger to that other side of joy?
Get support. Don't do it alone. I think admitting it to yourself is really huge. And please do that. The awareness is the first step, I think, to anything. And then don't be alone in it.
Community.
Yes. Because I am stubborn. Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You watch me. I'm a little bit sassy about it, right? But to what end? Like, who am I really proving this to? And then that stubbornness, if it falls away, I'm like, it's okay to admit that you need help.
Yeah.
It's okay to get angry. I think that threat can be medicine that we all desperately need to get clear on what it is that we don't want to live and feel anymore. And when you are somebody who is prone, because I guess I'm high functioning codependent, so that reads a little
way to be a gifted student and dysfunction.
A class. No, it's more so like codependency comes a lot from addictive behaviors, right? So that's where the word comes from. It's actually not part of DSM, which is like the formal diagnoses of things. But it's very real. I live it, so I can say that it does exist. But traditional codependents are like enmeshment as well, and just really addictive, horrible, toxic relationship behaviors that make you collapse into yourself and your entire life gets destroyed. High functioning codependency, though, because there's a spectrum, is where people, I feel like, is the most sinister because you get praised for it, right? You're really excellent at being codependent, right? So in a lot of ways, it's like the advice I would give is to take Lisa Chen's quiz to see if this resonates with you. I think at this point, I've taken it a couple times. So I'm like, I improved.
Right.
But I'm like 36 out of 50 on the scale of high functioning codependent. So I have a little bit of improvement. But overall, I think seeking community, going to a therapist, trying out a CODA meeting. I don't work with them. I'm not promoting them. They're not paying me. You're not supposed to. In fact, the anonymous part is important, but I'm comfortable to share.
Okay.
Because I think that's important. But yeah, all those resources are really important to have anger. And if you are somebody who isn't one that shuts down anger, there's also anger management groups, right? So for me, I think most importantly, it's being able to get support outside of just yourself.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Wonderful. Well, not enough conversations around anger. I know you're usually talking about joy, so I really appreciate
This was a total plot twist for me.
Yeah,
I was like, Carrie, what are we going to be talking about today?
Anger.
Anger. I was like, oh, I don't do that in private.
And I was like, no, we're talking about anger. So thank you for your bravery. Thank you for you are a guide. You're guiding people that are watching this through anger, or even recognizing, oh, I can do something about it. I can change it. So that's very empowering. And you're giving people permission, just like we said at the top of the show, you're giving people permission to find the compass through anger to joy. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
Before we wrap up, tell everybody where we can find you, all the places, all the things.
Well, if you are somebody who's like, I need to hear someone else's story, I want to know how to find joy through different avenues from different opinions. That was season 1 of my podcast. And then season 2 is more me solo being like, here's where I'm in the messy middle and I'm collapsing. And also what I'm discovering about joy in the meantime. It's a bit of an experiment on the podcast, but we just wrapped up season 2. Me, myself, and Anna, we just wrapped up. It was a great team. And then Substack, I feel like, is my new home.
Okay.
You know, I have my website, joyguidejune.com. But Joy Guide June, my Substack, is kind of like my experiment.
Okay.
I think as being a joy guide and self-proclaimed joy pirate at the moment, I'm uncovering a lot of buried treasure, you know, in my life. And also just a lot of like different pain that I felt really scared and ashamed to share. And I feel like that is so common for high achieving women to really not admit that we need help.
Yeah.
Or that we're just strong people or moms or caretakers or teachers or whatever it is that we do in our lives. And I kind of wanted to share like, hey, this is the behind the scenes of what it looks like to truly navigate joy, because I want to dismantle the toxic positivity, the idea that joy is outside of us, that there is some sort of destination addiction that we have to get to, a term coined by Robert Holden about like, oh, if we just get the nice house, if lose weight, you know, find all the things. I think that is definitely something I've discovered through the grief portal, but yeah, through the anger portal and the motherhood journey, like that's where the Substack comes in, and I can share my current discoveries and the current buried treasure.
Love that. We can go along for the ride on the pirate ship.
Come on along with me.
The SS Joy.
Exactly.
Thank you. Well, thank you, June, for coming and talking about something you weren't quite sure about how to talk about. You did a fantastic job.
I really appreciate
Everyone who's watching this, please comment below with a fireball emoji. We want to hear what anger you're dealing with right now. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And please keep your head above the chaos and carry on.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Carrie On. Be sure to find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And don't forget to keep your head above the chaos and carry on.